let me tell you, it's a hoax, it's a disgrace, it's an embarrassment to our country. Nancy Pelosi has done a terrible job as Speaker. There's never been a Speaker that's done so little. And she's totally incompetent. And Shifty Schiff, he stands up and he tells lies all day long, and even with that. So we have no due process. We can't have anything. And yet, not only did we win today, it's over. But we have a fake press. We have a phony press. We don't have freedom of the press in this country. We have a phony press. They're dishonest, most of them. We have some fine people, from fine journalists and reporters and companies, but most of them are fake and phony. CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, the Washington Post, New York Times, these are fake papers, they're fake press. And they should be ashamed of themselves, and they hurt our country. And to be honest with you, I think it's a great tribute to all of those people in swing states and all of those people in this country. We had an electoral college, as you know, Congressman, we had a landslide, 306 to 223. We had a landslide. And they're trying to take it away because they can't do it fairly. But these are bad people. Nancy Pelosi is incompetent. She's gotten nothing done in Congress. And now with their big star witness, this was going to be their star witness. Now, just so you know, I don't know him very well. He's a guy that got put there. He wasn't even on my side. He came over to me. I didn't even know that. He came over to me after I defeated other people. I defeated them all. But you know what? What really we have to learn from this whole thing is the press. They ought to straighten out their act. Because we have the greatest country in the world, but we have room to get even greater. But with a fake press, with the media the way it is, they should be ashamed of themselves.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, Q's back, and we're going to take a look at the latest new posts as Q warns us to prepare for the information warfare that is ahead as the mainstream media continues to double down on their fake news narrative and try to frame the president for something he didn't do and mislead the American people at large. We are going to continue to expose the corruption and the complicity of these fake news liars, and Q's telling us exactly how to do that. You guys want to stick around to check out that, plus a whole bunch of other news stories. Hi, my name is Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying, first of all, big thank you to every one of you who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Yes, we do have brand new Q posts we're going to get into, and we're going to be picking up around Q post 3607 because there were some that we may have missed last time. We're going to cover all of them here on this episode. But before we do that, I just remind everyone, look, you got to come here, you got to watch these videos, you got to share them on your social media and get the word out, because there is a content suppression algorithm that is being enacted by these big tech censors who are trying to suppress this content. They brag about it openly. They talk about how they're trying to push it down and keep it away from the people. And that's why I always have to remind everybody, look, come here, watch these videos, share them, and hit the share button on this video. Get it out there. We have to go around their algorithms. And like Q says, we are the news now. So we have to continue to get the narrative out that counters their fake news narrative that they put on every day to basically brainwash the masses. So we have to fight that programming, and that it starts with you guys just hitting the share button, watch these videos, and getting it out there. And also, if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon and what's the Great Awakening? Watch this video right here. It'll give you all the information you need, plus a whole lot more. Let's get into the latest Q post. As I said, we're picking up a Q post 3607. Well, it seems as though we may have missed a couple posts in the last video because some of these sites are having some trouble. They're aggregation sites, so they're taking the Q posts and putting them up. But because there's so many problems with the 8kun boards right now, they're going up and going down, and we're going to talk about that here with the latest Q post. It sometimes they miss a few posts here and there, and so we're just going to cover them because they tie in perfectly with the new set of Q posts from today that are bombshells, all of them that you're going to want to hear about. So let's start right here. We left off right here around 3607. I think we may have covered 3610 here, but we may have missed 3608 and 3609. So I'm going to do these two, and then we'll get into the latest new posts as well. So it says here, all assets, foreign and domestic, being deployed. Some who once supported President Trump, sleepers, will turn puppets and puppet masters. Control of narrative equals control of public opinion. Control of public opinion equals power. Everything is at stake. Old guard power structure being destroyed. Washington Civil War, control the narrative. Previous exposure of truth, or prevent exposure of truth, I should say. Self-preservation, fighting for survival, information warfare, Q. This post perfectly sums up what's happening on Capitol Hill, especially where you see these people making their last stand with this Ukraine hoax, because they don't have any other options left. And they understand that President Trump is coming for these corrupt criminals. And it all goes back to what we've learned through all of this, about starting with Nexium. Then we learned about Epstein. Then we started learning about Hunter Biden. I mean, I can tell you right now, I was reporting on this stuff, like 4 years ago? It feels like 3 or 4 years ago, about Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, Burisma Holdings. And now it's all coming to light. And more of this is going to continue to happen as we dive deeper into the corruption, as President Trump gets closer to this election, because these are the issues that matter to the American voter, right? Getting to the bottom of the corruption, getting rid of this two-tiered justice system, holding people accountable, having equality of law. These are the principles which we are fighting for as a nation, and President Trump is fighting for those. And it's truly a fight for all of our lives. It's for the life of this nation at large, because there's an evil group of globalists, cabal, Satanists, Luciferians, whatever you want to call them, who would love nothing more than to destroy America, to destroy all global countries, all different countries' sovereignty, and then replace it with a global governing system that they can then control. This is all a play to get more control and to take more control and to destroy our country, in my opinion, because a lot of these people are corrupt and complicit. A lot of them would rather see this country destroyed than to ever be found guilty for their crimes, or to be brought up on charges, or to come clean and confess. So that's the biggest problem we're running into. And there have been sleepers since day one. And I think what you have to remember is that, the 5D chess here, a lot of this stuff has been allowed to happen, and it's all been a part of the plan to let people in, so that, you ever heard the saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Well, that would play perfectly into the thought process, I think, for President Trump, because the closer they are to President Trump, I should say, the easier they are to be monitored, and the shorter the leash you can hold on these people, because a lot of them obviously are going to turn and going to go after President Trump. And that's really what we're up against right now. So with that in mind, that kind of explains that one. The next one here says these people are stupid. It gives this Congress document. Now, we've talked about this here on the channel before, but this was the treaty with Ukraine on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters. This is back from 1999, with Bill Clinton being the one overseeing the treaty here. He gives this letter of transmittal that he signs here with his name. And I want to remind the American people what Q is trying to remind us. What President Trump's doing is literally called for in this treaty that was signed between our two countries. So isn't it amazing how the tools that they probably drafted and created in order to legally protect themselves, right? This mutual legal assistance was so that both sides could monitor what was happening, so that they could keep track of and protect the corrupt dealings in Ukraine, right? The mutual legal assistance was so that, the corrupt DOJ, who was working with Obama or Clinton or whoever, or Bush or whatever, could call up Ukraine and say, hey, like Biden did, get rid of this prosecutor. We're cooperating. Our mutual legal assistance means get rid of this prosecutor who's investigating my son and Burisma and Devin Archer and Christopher Hines and Rosemont Seneca Partners, right? That's what they wanted to get rid of. So there you go. President Trump's taking this and using it 100% against them in a genius play. And Q just says these people are stupid, Q. And it's so true, because these idiots thought that drafting this treaty of mutual legal assistance was going to protect them. And now it's the actual document that's going to protect Trump and everything he's done with calling for President Zelensky to investigate Hunter Biden and the rest. So I just thought that was interesting. We did cover this Q post before. Basically, it just talks about how Breaking News Live had a post on Twitter, and then they got suspended for talking about the connection between Burisma and Hunter Biden, or new Ukrainian connections between Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. But it says control of the narrative equals control of public opinion. Control of public opinion equals power. How do you control the narrative? Information warfare Q. So that's what we're involved with here. Now, the next one's very fascinating. It says Clinton Foundation quid pro quo, internal alarm, how to frame defend. Then it gives this WikiLeaks email, which is pretty interesting. It's between, it's got everybody kind of listed on here, with Jennifer Palmieri and John Podesta all talking about the Clinton Foundation and how they should address it, because this is around the time, presumably, back in 2015, when a lot of questions in the run-up to the election, as Hillary Clinton was getting more involved with the race, started to pop up. Like, how did you have this foundation that spent barely any money on charitable things, and kept 90 or whatever, 80% of the money, hundreds of millions of dollars over years, over a decade, I should say. Anyway, this email goes into some ideas for how they can get ahead of what's going to happen with the Clinton Foundation. And then they talk about how they're going to control the amount of questions that are asked. So they're like, well, we should only take one question about this Clinton Foundation thing. And they actually talk about how they thought about making a video, but they decided not to do the video. It just seems weird, but when you read through it, it's very fascinating. It gives these 3 points here talking about how they can frame the whole, pay-for-play accusations that were being made against the Clinton Foundation. They gave her these 3 talking points, which are kind of hilarious. Saying she's very proud of Clinton Foundation's work. She thinks people donate to it because they want to support good works. And if anyone did ever give money in hopes of influencing something state did, they are foolish, because she never did that and never would. Secretary of State makes life and death decisions, and those kinds of political considerations don't come into play. It's all a joke. It's all a complete laughable lie. And it's them, of course, spinning it and trying to formulate behind the scenes how they're going to present this publicly. And then the next line is very interesting. It says, at least this way, she will have taken off the table any notion that there was quid pro quo, even if some donors may have had bad intentions. So here they're basically admitting that they knew that the donors had bad intentions, and we know it goes so much deeper than that. This is just their cover story and their way to play it off as, oh, well, even if they were paying for play, it's not like Hillary would have ever done anything except the email server and the 33,000 emails and all of the evidence and the mountain full that points to her selling state secrets and special access programs to foreign adversaries for enriching herself through her foundation. That whole thing. I thought that was interesting. And then it says, read carefully. Note, Podesta emails non-public internal fact. Ukraine is the single largest Clinton Foundation donor. Coincidence? Q. So remember, Podesta emails were all internal. So this was never meant to get out to the public. This is something to really, take note of, especially given the fact, as it says here, that the biggest donors for the Clinton Foundation have been, you guessed it, Ukraine. Here's a True Pundit article talking about Ukraine donated the most cash of any country. Here's a graph laying that out, talking about how Ukraine, from 1999 to 2014, donated apparently over $10 million from individuals that were contributing more than $50,000. Yeah, and you can tell the list. It's like Ukraine, England, Saudi Arabia. Do those names ring a bell? I mean, obviously England, what's happening with Prince Andrew and the royal family and the connections with Epstein. Saudi Arabia, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, exposing that whole disgusting, all those really evil stuff that was going on there as far as human trafficking, human rights abuses, and so on. So, I think that's important to note and really take into account here. And obviously, like, Ukraine being the largest donor to the Clinton Foundation, now watching these these Ukraine hoax collusion hearings now, where it's bribery or something. I don't even know. They keep changing what they're accusing the president of. First it's treason, then it's bribery, then it's quid pro quo, then they can't really say crime. They just sit and think he's bad for foreign policy. It's all ridiculous. And there you go, Chairman Graham. It's time Senate was the target Q. So this was interesting because right as Q posted that, Senator Graham goes out and requests the full transcripts of Joe Biden's calls with the Ukrainian president. So I think Senator Graham's being activated. He's obviously a part of the controlled like gray hat area. He was obviously working with No Name McCain in Syria and in Iraq, and had some very close ties with some of the people that ended up creating ISIS, obviously. The supposed Syrian moderate rebels, whatever that means, basically just another way of saying ISIS terrorists. And you really have a very controlled figure in what Graham is, I think, and he's going to have to play ball because, you know, the fate of our republic is really at stake here. And these these transcripts from these Joe Biden calls could be very interesting. I mean, if Joe Biden's bragging to the Council on Foreign Relations, openly laughing about how he basically extorted the president of Ukraine at the time, Poroshenko, into firing his top prosecutor who was investigating his son by threatening to withhold over $1 billion in U.S. funding, I can only imagine what the actual transcripts of the phone calls will show, because President Trump's released his transcripts. Isn't it about time Joe Biden released his transcripts, right? He wants to be president. Let's have full transparency and see where that gets him. I don't think it's going to do well for anyone. Now, this one's long. I'm just going to read it. It's so true. I don't even think I need to explain it, but I'm going to read it because it's so true and so important. It says, what happens when 90% of the media is controlled, owned by 6 corporations? What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? Democrats. What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? What happens when the news simply becomes an extension arm of a political party? Fact becomes fiction, fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Identity creation? How does the average person who is under constant financial stress by design find time to research and discern fact from fiction? Majority of people more prone to believe something in power or someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. Do people, human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned? Mainstream is used for a reason. Now I'm just going to say, this is all explaining exactly the psychological warfare that the mainstream media uses in order to indoctrinate the masses. So listen to this. Mainstream is used for a reason. Dominate trend in opinion. If majority of people believe X, then X must be validated true. Why do mainstream media heads within different organizations always use the same keywords and or catchphrases? Coordinated by who? Outside entity providing instructions? Do they count on the fact that people, human psyche, are more prone to believe something if heard over and over again by different trusted sources? Do echo chamber tactics provide validation, credibility to the topic point being discussed? Threat to intellectual freedom? Would control over of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of a population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? The Trump collusion hoax, Trump Russia hoax, all the fake news lies that they continue to spew out. Read again, digest. Would control of these institutions over of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? Logical thinking. Why, after the election of 2016, did Democrats and media corporations jumpstart a coordinated and planned divisive blitz intended to create falsehoods regarding illegitimacy of election, character assassination of POTUS through sexism, racism, and every other ism? Pre-post 2016 election, why were violent masked terror organizations such as Antifa immediately created and funded? Why were those organizations tasked with immediate intimidation, shutdown of any pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized to counter and silence pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized, Soros organized, which divided people into sex, gender, race, ism? When you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. Control of the narrative equals power. When you are blind, what do you see? They want you divided. Divided by religion, sex, political affiliation, class. When you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you. not those responsible. Controllers, divided you are weak. Divided, you pose no threat to their control. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or stable livestock kept sheep. When you are awake, you are on, or you stand on the outside of the stable groupthink collective and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. Q. So I know that's a lot, but this is Q tying it all together here for how the media works, how they use this mass psychology to indoctrinate people, to propagandize them, to deceive them, and to push them. Another person said it this way: these elites look at people like sheep. So in order to control the sheep, all you need is a few good sheepdogs on the outside, barking and nipping at their heels to get them to move in a certain direction. After that, the group tends to follow. So these media people are the sheepdogs that they get, that the masters put out there to drive the masses in one direction or another. And it gets sicker and more demonic and satanic the higher you get up in it, because the way they control those who are the controllers is just like you would in any gang. A gang may take a gang member out to a liquor store and say, rob this liquor store with this gun, and then they take the gun as proof and they say, hey, we have evidence you did this. Or they may ask them to do something even worse. And in some cases with these elites, there have been people who have come forward from different industries, have said, they were basically brought into these satanic churches, right? And asked to do awful, disgusting criminal things. And you have to ask yourself, that's what they're trying to cover up? Or is that what they're trying to cover up? Is that why these sick people lie to you every single day? And a lot of them, they lie for different reasons. They lie for a paycheck. They lie because they've been brainwashed and believe it. They lie because they're into it, and they've actually participated in some of these organized acts of debauchery and sick depravity. But whatever their reason is, it's not for the benefit of mankind as a whole, and they're not doing it for any of the right reasons. They're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And what we're doing is standing in opposition to those who would do that kind of evil. And we're just asking for some pretty basic things, I think. We want the integrity of law, we want equality of law, and we want to be, we want to get rid of this evil cancer that's grown inside of our society and culture for too long. So with that being said, the next one here is this Twitter post, which shows you exactly exactly what it is. I'm not going to put on the volume because it's pointless, but you can see all these different news organizations, and what you have to take away from this: Fox, CBS, NBC, all of these ones that are owned by, I think this one was one of the broadcasting groups that owns like a bunch of these local television stations across the country. They're all reading the same script. It's disgusting, and it is indicative of the groupthink that they try to stick you in, and they use this mass indoctrination to basically get you to do their bidding without you even realizing. You think because you're watching Fox instead of CBS or NBC, you're getting a different take. No, you're getting the same corporate script that they want you to ingest. You are the sheep. These are the sheepdogs. They're steering you just like a herd, a flock. You're being steered into the pens to be locked up in these mental prisons, right? That prevent you from being a free thinker, as Q says. So there's that. Q says information warfare. And links to all of these will be in the description if you want to go and watch them. Here's a funny one. This is somebody's talked about FISA is the start. Talks about FISA-gate and the impeachment hearings, and then it talks about the A team and the Q team, and basically it's a video where they're shooting fish in a barrel, except I guess the A team that's shifting the Dems and the mainstream media can't even shoot the barrel. It's just trying to say how pathetic they are, right? Anyway, that's what that is. And Q just kind of laughs and says game over. And then the next one here is a very interesting one, where it shows this bridge in, I guess this was in Chicago during rush hour. Somebody says or somebody put a sign up that says the media is complicit, hashtag treason with a big Q. So Q tells us after that, saying, the great awakening, you are the news now, handle with care. And I agree with that sentiment. We have to be careful. The next one here is this Twitter post from this Kim Sachs, which talks about, now we're getting this new report out that the FBI modified 302s. Well, where did we hear this before? Oh, look at this. Back in April of 2019, we have Q telling us about the FBI 302s and how they're going to come into play, and saying that the FBI 302s were modified. Oh, really? Did they purposely, here again, back a previous Q post talking about the modified 302s? Oh, let me guess. Did McCabe, Peter Strzok, and Lisa Page modify 302s so that they could illegally spy and get FISA warrants on President Trump and his and people associated with his campaign? Was it all a setup? Were they working with the DNC and Fusion GPS and Perkins Coie and Christopher Steele? It looks like that's exactly what happened. And now there are reports coming out, and you even have people on CNN reporting on this stuff looking scared, somber, saying, oh, this is a grave injustice if this is true, as if they didn't know. We've only been screaming this out for the last, I don't know, year or more, about how the 302s were doctored. The FISA, there was no, they didn't even verify the information that was used to get the FISA warrant to spy on President Trump. So none of it passed the smell test. It was all garbage from the beginning. And that's what that's pointing to. Q says, news unlocks. You have more than you know, Q. Now, the next couple statuses, one here, it links to Code Monkey's tweet where it says there's a scheduled salt rotation for this coming Monday at 8 p.m. This is a routine procedure. When it happens, bans are reset. Post history, start fresh, and secure trip codes change. So I think this is a warning that we're going to see maybe a change in the Q trip code. And then Q responds that saying the platform not fully functional, stable. Pick uploads not secure, functional, suggest update delay to prevent identity recheck regarding trip update failure until platform stabilize. Q. So obviously this is Q communicating with Code Monkey, the board owner, the operator, the runner of it, and telling him to wait on this new update because there's something about protecting Q's trip code and identity. And we're going to get into that here too, where I think Ron actually posts here talking about the I'm not going to get into this because this is a lot of technical stuff, and if you guys want to go look at this stuff and read through it, you can. I'll kind of scroll through it, so if you want, you can pause it and watch or read it. But it's all basically a long way of saying that there's some technical problems that they're trying to work through that need to be figured out. And what Q is saying here, because Code Monkey is saying that, or Ron is saying, why don't you use the Patriots Fight to kind of verify, because then you can migrate that board onto the 8kun new board or new site once they refresh the salts, and then that'll be a way to confirm Q's trip code. So I don't want to get into the boring technical stuff with you, but Q basically just says that the Patriots Fight was taken down and cleared of content just prior to the platform termination for a specific reason. National Security Charter prevents use of keys to establish identity via public utility domain, non-registered. Formation of clean board possible to lock in trips, issues with safeguards. So I think what we have to remember here is that if this is what we think it is, which is information that's being disseminated to us by the president through military intelligence, right? And remember, that's legal because the president can declassify whatever he wants, especially to inform the people of a clear and present danger to the public at large or to these broader crimes that are being brought against him. Then there's something they have to figure out behind the scenes as far as the trip codes go. But I'll leave that to more of the technical anons to look at and figure out. But with that, the final one here basically gives this link to this BBC article, which interestingly enough talks about the serious flaw found in secure email technology. This PGP, which is, I guess, pretty good privacy. Now, I'm not a total tech guy here, so some other people would probably be better to speak on this. And if you guys have any thoughts about it, please leave it down in the comments. But what I thought was interesting about what Q says is publicly known, and this is an article from 2018, mind you. It says, think non-public, access granted Q. So I don't know if there's some sort of email that somebody thinks they may have hacked, so they've hacked Q's email and they're going to set him up or steal the trip code or whatever. let me just say, whatever it is, it's probably a trap that's been set and laid perfectly for an unsuspecting person to wander right into. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that for time to tell. And we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. A few more things before we go. Obviously, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all of this. Remember to go check out a few other places where you can help out the channel, like download the Brave browser. Talk about a great browser for you guys to use. Go check out the link in the description. Use it to download this tool. It's great. It's just like any other internet browser, Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, but it's better. It blocks the ads, makes your internet experience that much better, and it's got a built-in Tor browser and VPN if you want to stay private and secure online even more, and it's free. All you got to do is use the link in the description, and then they will make a contribution to the channel when you use the link to download it, install it, and run it on your computer. So I encourage everyone to go check it out. I think it's a great tool, and that's definitely somewhere you can go look and find it in the description. Also, come find me over here on Twitter at JUSTINFORMED, the official Twitter page for Just Informed Talk. We can have a conversation outside the channel. It's a great way to connect. Also, check out justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. And don't forget to check me out over on BitChute at bitchute.com/justinformedtalk. There'll be a link in the description. Come over here and subscribe, because December 10th, we don't know what's going to happen on YouTube. I'm not thinking anything big's going to happen because I haven't done anything wrong. But if something does happen to this channel, I really want you guys to have a place where we can go and just continue this conversation. And you know, whatever it is, I'll just keep doing this because it's what God's called me to do, and I want to do the best I can for God, for my family, and for my country, and for all of you out there. This is my calling, and I want to do my best. So come find me over here on BitChute and give me a subscribe here too. That helps out as well. A couple other ways you can help out the channel are both financial, though. You can come over here and find me on Patreon, patreon.com, crowdfunding website. Monthly donations, set it and forget it. You guys keep this channel alive. You never know what's going to happen with YouTube. Who knows what's going to happen on December 10th when they change the rules. They've already taken away all of the monetization on this channel, basically. So who knows what the next step is. I just want my free speech and be able to share this information with you guys and have these conversations. So you supporting the channel keeps it so that I can keep doing this. And this will be even more important if anything ever did happen to the channel, so that I can just keep going. And we'll just have to find another place to connect. But hopefully everything will stay well and good here on YouTube. But also, don't forget to check out GoFundMe page I have if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation as well. Links to everything will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today I want to talk about our will versus God's will for us, right? Or His will in us. And this is a great verse. It's out of the book of James, chapter 4, verse 13 through 17. And I just want to share these words, and I hope they speak to your heart as they do mine. It says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will travel to such and such a city and spend a year there and do business and make a profit. You don't even know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. For you are a bit of smoke that appears for a little while, then vanishes. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. But as it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So, for the person who knows to do good and doesn't do it, it is a sin." Well, what is that really saying? It's about humility. And what is humility? Humility is being humble before God, and recognizing what it says there, that we're just a wisp, a vapor, here today, gone tomorrow. What is everlasting, though, is God, and what impact we leave in this world, and how we decide to live our lives in this small time we have here. We don't say through our own arrogance that we're going to do this or that. We say, but for the grace of God, but with God's help, we will be able to survive. We will be able to thrive. We will be able to find a larger community and spread God's word and share the gospel and do the things that God calls us to do. And that's my message to you today, is just remember that You have to put God first above everything else. And every day you get up, every breath you take, thank God. Every sunrise and every sunset, every moment you're holding hands with your loved one, or you're sitting with your kids, or you're enjoying your parents' company, those seconds, those moments are gifts from God, and you have to be thankful for each and every one of them. So that's my message to you. I want you guys to take that and spread it out into the world, and that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode. Remember to come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, kick it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.